I'd say that reading has always been a really big focus for us at Georgetown and such an important part of the curriculum. But since the return to school following the pandemic, we are still talking about children coming into nursery and entering the school with, I'd say, levels of speaking and listening not as they were previously and not as expected. They're very good at digital skills, but their speaking and listening skills we have noticed are slightly behind where they used to be. I think we also recognise that children weren't having opportunities to enjoy reading and love reading, and the opportunities that they'd had maybe before the pandemic again to go and visit libraries and engage in reading activities. And as a result of that, reading featured highly for us on our school development plan and became a whole school focus. When we started to think about reading and our whole school culture of reading, the first thing that we looked at were the opportunities and the learning environment that we had in Georgetown. I think we were fortunate that the review of the learning environment was happening anyway, because of course we were being introduced to the curriculum for Wales, and we wanted to look at our learning environment and make sure that our children had opportunities to be independent lifelong learners. And alongside that, staff thought it was important to kind of evaluate, did pupils have the opportunity to be lifelong readers too, given the importance of reading in learning and throughout the curriculum? So we were in a really good place when we evaluated. Obviously, I've mentioned the pandemic. We'd identified that children didn't have the same opportunities that they'd previously had. So as a staff, we came together and we chatted to our stakeholders as well and chatted about, does our environment need to change? Does our provision need to change? You know, children are not visiting libraries. We reintroduced 2 school libraries for the children to be able to have access to books that some of them were telling us they didn't have at home. We introduced quiet spaces in all of our classrooms where children could go and enjoy reading and develop their reading skills. And I think as a school, we put a whole school focus on the importance of reading to aid learning. So we were in a really good place. We involved stakeholders in that. So we made sure, I think during the pandemic, we'd moved to distance learning, and staff and parents and pupils became very good at learning online. And as a result of that, we continued that provision when the children came back to school. And we started to set up little activities online for the parents, so the parents could mirror the reading activities that were going on in school. So it was a whole school focus really, and all stakeholders were clear in the direction in which we were going. So alongside obviously the classroom provision and the consistency in provision throughout the school, it's really important to note that reading development is well planned. There's been lots of staff professional learning activities. We've had experts in, we've accessed professional learning courses, and we've used our own in-house experts to make sure that all staff have a clear idea of the progression of reading skills as the children in Georgetown enter nursery and as they move through the school. I think what's important for us to note there, and the slight change really in the culture of particularly in our early learning environment, is that when children come to Georgetown, they are embraced in a language-rich curriculum, and that again is kind of making up for the opportunities that some of them may have been missing in their home situations. So reading is well planned and well developed. It's progressive as they move through the school. There's no focus and emphasis on getting the children onto their phonics schemes as quickly as you possibly can, and that used to be the case. You know, staff would start to panic that the children didn't know so many sounds by the time they left nursery or reception. There's a real focus now on developing that engagement, that love of literacy, the language-rich story stimulus, the nursery rhymes, all of those things which will instill that love of literacy in the children at such an early age. And as they move through the school, as they move from nursery to reception, for example, the focus is on the children who are ready to learn. So there's no rush through. When the children are ready and they show an interest, we start to move them on to the phonics schemes, and those schemes are really well structured. Obviously we use the phonics and the blending as they move through the foundation phase. They are stage related and not age related, and then, you know, we use other schemes schemes as the children then move through Key Stage 2 to ensure that skills are progressive, alongside those opportunities for the children to develop their reading skills. There's opportunities for them to consolidate those skills throughout the curriculum. And staff did, when we had our Eston inspection, it was noted that were we challenging our high-end readers? Were we looking at those high-end reading skills? So we introduced a whole school guided reading policy then, from foundation phase right the way throughout Key Stage 2, where every child every week has an opportunity to participate in guided reading activities and books that are linked to their themes and their topics, so they're current and relevant and they show an interest in them. But it gives us an opportunity and gives the teachers an opportunity to really focus on those high-end skills, the inference, deduction, the comprehension, all of the fact-finding. So alongside the progressive schemes, those opportunities to develop reading throughout the curriculum really are embedded. We've already mentioned the quality professional learning to ensure all of our staff are comfortable and confident in the teaching of such an important skill. But I think, that it's important that staff are encouraged to think about pupil progress and report upon pupil progress too. So every term, the staff in Georgetown have opportunities to meet with a member of the senior leadership team to discuss progress, and obviously reading is a big part of that. They would come to us with they're still collecting all of their reading data, their phonic checklists, their reading ages, their national test data. And that data is analysed by the teachers who need to know what the children in their class need to do next in order to progress in their reading. So they would come to members of the management team and say, look, these children are making good progress. These children need a little bit more intervention. This is what they're having. What more can they offer? Can we offer? So I think staff are supported then to make sure that our children are progressing well, and if they're not, how can they be supported to progress further? So for example, throughout the foundation phase, we have teaching assistants assigned to each class. So the class teacher would obviously lead the teaching of reading within the class, and then children who need that extra push or that extra bit of support are then taken out of class by either class teacher or the teaching assistant. And in Key Stage 2, this works really well because we start to then introduce our enrichment programs, our NESI and our literacy junction. And the teaching assistants are, there's one per cohort, and they would then take children out for individual support, group support, report back to the teacher who would then look at progress, what impact is it having. So I think staff feel supported that they've got the resources they need to give our children the best opportunities. As a result of the provision and practices that we've put in place, we are seeing pupils are progressing well as they move through the school in their reading, and progressing in their reading skills, but also their higher order reading skills, particularly at the top end of the school. Staff have created a consistent culture of the promotion of reading throughout the school, and parents and governors, I think, have been a part of that, so they're happy. Our vision at Georgetown is we want our children to be happy, healthy, independent learners, but alongside that, we recognise the importance of reading, and we want our children, and they're well on their way when they leave us, to being happy, independent readers as well. Readers who read to aid their learning, but readers who also value and love reading.